Fast-growing, hard-fighting, and bearing striking colors that are beautiful beyond belief, the great-tasting dolphin is considered by many to be the world's most perfect game fish.
You know what? Join us as we venture into the deep to discover the secrets of mahi on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Decided. Welcome back to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. And Rick, I'm jonesing this week because we're talking about my absolute favorite offshore species, dolphin.
I know that you are the mahi mama, for sure. You love them because they taste so good. And I also know that you enjoy all the beautiful colors that they have to offer.
They have so many things going for them.
Yes.
I mean, from the fight, the hookup, how beautiful they are, how they taste. It's just, they've just got everything.
Two names.
Two names, lots of names actually.
Mahi.
Mahi mahi, a fish so nice, they named it twice. We all know that one. All right, well, before we get to our mahi reports, let's say hi to our Dorado dude, Dave Farrell at the
Dorado
dude.
Oh,
hey, that's a new one.
I love it.
He's one of my favorites
that's why I'm
too.
here.
I mean, I'm fishing when I leave to go offshore. I'm fishing for two fish really, and that's a wahoo and a Dorado. So. There, we got all the stuff that we're going to talk about that we can catch them all.
I love all the stuff. All right, well, there are so many ways to get your fight on in the Takeuchi Keys region. So, Captain Ridge Murphy, why don't you start us out with a few words from the wise?
You know, mahis are targeted on every charter dock from Key Largo down to Key West here in the Alta Equipment region. They can be targeted year-round from spraying ballyhoos in the sand or on the kites in the early fall and early spring months to chasing birds or trolling weed lines in the summer months. Summertime fishing is the most common time of year to chase these mahis, and a good indicator to know when to start looking for them offshore is watch the Royal Poncietta trees that we have all up and down the Keys. When they start blooming, start venturing further offshore from 400 to 1,500 feet of water, looking for birds and debris, running and gunning until you find the depth of water that they may be in. Once you get the line that they may be in, work west into the Gulf Stream current, acting as if you're on a treadmill, trolling R&R mahi magnets, rigged ballyhoos, naked ballyhoos, or islander lures, bullet head or chugger head will work. Drag these baits on a international 1030 with a carnage rod and have a few spinners ready for casters. A 2.0 to 4.0 Eagle Claw live bait hook will work great for the schoolies, but try to have one rod that's designated for that bigger fish that has a 60-pound leader on it with a bigger hook. That way when that big bull comes up, you'll be ready. I have two photos, and the first one is Eric Reynolds, and he had his big fish ready rod off of a Real Deal Charters out of Key Largo with a real nice bull. And then the other photo is Dylan Wheeler with another nice mahi that they caught.
Well, hot dang. That's awesome.
All right. What else? Tell us about the tunas, Bubby.
Blackfin tunas on the west hump have been good. If you can get the live bait, go out there and spray filters behind the boat, free line 2 to 3 rods with 20 to 30-pound mono, clear or blue, and you can tie straight to that Eagle Claw live bait hook. But then you run the risk of them chewing through. So if not, you might not get as many big fish, but you can always use a 40-pound leader as a good insurance policy. Drop the baits back behind the boat with little resistance as the captain bumps into the current. And when you get the bite, stay on top of the fish that you currently have on to keep the sharks off of them, and then reset afterwards after everything is all said and done. I have another photo of Ray Ramiro with a nice blackfin doing exactly that. He stayed on top of the fish, caught him as he could, and just picked away at him, man. It was really fun for him.
Cool. Let's go inshore.
Snook fishing is on fire in the backcountry of Isla Mirada and Key Largo, and more so on the flamingo side of things, from blind fishing the ditches, on the edges of the flats, on the low water, to fishing the beaches with a 5-inch bass assassin jerk bait on a 3/8 to half-ounce jig head. This past week, the color did not matter. The empty bags of bass assassin filled up the bottom of the boat, and we were trolling, motoring, and poling along the shorelines, bouncing the baits back, and just getting ready for that tug. Look for the schools of ladyfish busting on the glass minnows, and the fish will be sitting on the outer edges of the glass minnows, kind of bombarding them. So, and I have another photo of Jesse Galvez and his better half with a nice snook that they caught with Captain Wiley Berg in the backcountry.
Nice. All right, one to go. What do you got, bub?
Along with the snooks mixed in, we have a bunch of fat sea trout. If you're work your bass assassin jerkbait just a little bit slower. Let it sink down past the ladyfish and the snooks. It seems like we're catching quite a few trout as a bycatch. Make sure to keep that jerkbait pushed up against the barb of that jig head, because the ladyfish will pull it off and kind of mess up your presentation. So you want to bump, pause, and use that Berkeley braided line for what it's meant for, and that's feeling that jig head drag the bottom.
You done?
Yep.
All right, bub, thank you so much. You did good with the pictures. We'll see you later. I'm going to go ahead and check out the hot spots from the Florida Keys region. Ridge says that inshore, guys, you want to go snook fishing on the coastline and in the trenches on the flats. Throw Bass Assassin 5-inch jerk baits in any color on a 3/8 to ½ ounce jig head. And then if you want to go offshore, mahis in 750 feet to 1,100 feet of water. Look for the birds and debris, throwing live cigar minnows or pieces of squid on a spinning rod with an eagle claw live bait hook.
Not one, but two nice mahi-mahi coming out of the Keys region.
Yeah, man.
I love it. All right, well, let's see what tournaments are going on in the Florida Keys. First, we have the Billy Knowles Memorial Poor Boys Tarpon Fly Tournament in Isla Mirada, where the team with the most releases of tarpon 4 feet and longer, while fly fishing July 5th and 6th, wins trophies and, of course, bragging rights. Next is the Key West Association of Realtors Fishing Tournament, July 12th through the 13th, where anglers fish for the largest dolphin, tuna, and wahoo by weight. Then is the Del Brown Invitational Permit Tournament, July 14th through the 17th in Sugarloaf Key, where elite anglers fly fish on Lower Keys flats for permit and bonefish to earn awards and honor the late angling pioneer Del Brown, who caught and released more than 500 permit on fly during his lifetime. And last, we have the Key West Marlin Tournament set for July 17th through the 20th with a guaranteed $50,000 in cash prizes and coincides with the annual Hemingway Days celebration. For more information on these Keys tournaments and more, head to flakeys.com. But you know, just because we're seeing weed lines in the Fish Bites East region doesn't mean mahi all the time. So let's cover more water with Captain Mike Holliday. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, you know, Bree, that seems to be the key. It's flat calm, so you can run. Seems like a lot of dolphin are caught now because you can cover so much water. The drawback is that the fish are really spread out. You'll find the schoolies hold into anything that tracks bait, like weed lines or rips, while the big fish tend to be caught off a single floating object like a tree or a board, or under diving birds like a frigate bird, or even around just like a single turtle up on the surface. Right now, the easterly winds are stacking up those weed lines. That's brought a wave of dolphin into the area. The key is to cover a lot of water. So start your morning by running until you see something good like a weed line or a rip, and then put out baits. And you know, you want to get an early start so you're the first one on those weed lines or the first one to that rip. You can pull ballyhoo with a pink or a green skirt, or a skirt and strip combination, or even just a trolling feather. Those baits will allow you to go fast and cover a lot of water. If you don't get a bite in 20 minutes on that spot, pick up and run until you see something good again. Start all over again. Start in 100 feet of water, or the first time you see something good, run out to 1,000 feet or more water or more. Average dolphin's going to be 5 to 15 pounds, but right now we got fish to 30 pounds or more. Captain Butch Constable sent me a shot. This is one of the fish I caught off of Jupiter. That fish came out of 150 feet of water and ate a live pilchard. The other bite, the most consistent blue water bite right now, is for sailfish, which are spread out really throughout the entire region. There's been good concentrations of fish in 120 to 200 feet of water off of Jensen Beach, and then another good concentration in 60 to 140 feet of water between Jupiter and Stewart. A lot of the boats are seeing fish that are free jumping or floating up on the surface, almost look like a dark palm frond when you run by. But if you stop, you can pull right up to those fish, pitch them a live bait and get that bite. You can troll ballyhoo with a blue and white skirt, or slow troll live thread fins or pilchards. But the boats that are specifically targeting the fish, they're putting out kites, power drifting with live goggle eyes with thread fins on a 40-pound fluorocarbon leader and a 7/0 circle hook just to get that sailfish bite. Average sailfish in my region is going to be like 40 to 50 pounds. They tend to be big right now. I got a photo of hockey great Dennis Potvin. He got this nice sailfish in 125 feet of water off Stewart, and that fish ate a live threadfin.
He sure did. All right, let's go inshore, Mike.
Well, you know, we're in the height of the summer tarpon migration in my region. And the beach fishing has kind of been slow for the last week or so. We haven't seen a lot of the migrating fish on the beach, but we are seeing a lot moving inshore to their summer haunts. You know, fish are holding around inlets in places like Big Mud Creek, the north and south forks of the St. Lucie River, Harbor Branch, the moorings channel. For the fish on the beach, you can pitch live crabs or thread fins, or fish a live mullet, you know, around the inlets, just kind of put them out there. For the fish in the rivers, mullets, pilchards, and bunker, either live or dead, are going to be your top baits. You can also throw small plastic jigs like a saltwater assassin Houdini colored 4-inch sea shad. That bait's deadly on tarpon in the river. Inshore fish are going to range 10 to 80 pounds or more. I got a photo from Captain Eric Davis of Vero Beach. He's releasing that tarpon, and that fish was caught on a black and purple baitfish fly out on the beach. Now, the other thing we got going, catch and release snook. The first big wave of snook came into the inlets and onto the beaches with last week's full moon. There's a lot of fish around the spillways right now and in places on the beach like the Lake Worth and Juneau Piers. Keep in mind that snook are one of the species in the CCA Florida Star Tournament. That event goes on till Labor Day. But you have to be a CCA member and you have to be signed up for the tournament to win. You can find out the list of rules and register for the CCA tournament, for the Star Tournament at ccaflstar.com. And continuing with snook, for the snook in the inlets, live croakers and sand perch have been the hot baits. On the beaches, anything that looks like a pilchard. So, you know, a baitfish fly, a 4-inch copper juice, or green hornet colored sea shad, or even a live pilchard or threadfin. Those are going to be your top baits on the beach. Average snook 8 to 15 pounds. On the rainy afternoons, the spillways, Jeff Sayre sent me this shot of a nice Port St. Lucie snook. He caught on a jig at the C24 spillway.
Nice. All right, well, we got to have our bass report. So what do you got this week, Mike?
You know, the boat ramp at Headwaters Lake has been closed, or was closed, from the 10th to the 24th for repairs. So a lot of the bass fishermen were going old school and fishing the Stick Marsh Farm 13 reservoir. I was talking to Captain Nathan Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He's saying the water levels are super low at the Stick Marsh, but you can run the areas along the dike very safely. Look for the eelgrass beds, working with topwater plugs, prop baits, and frogs. You can also do well with a Bass Assassin 5-inch Elite Shiner in that bluegill flash color, or really in any of the shad colors. And then as the day heats up, look for the shell beds out in the middle. Fish them with a Texas rig RSB worm in the June bug or black and blue colors, something that looks like a bluegill, or a Carolina rig little tapper worm in a green ghost or green pumpkin bluegill color. Average bass on the Stick Marsh right now is 2 to 4 pounds, and it's like a 20 to 30 fish morning.
I'm so glad to hear those big snook of rolling in. I know you're going to be hot after them,
Yeah.
don't you think, Bree?
I hope so.
I sure do. Thank you so much, Mike. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots from the East region. My man Mike says inshore mangrove snappers in Fort Pierce Inlet. Live sand perch, a pilchard, a sardine around the rocks, and during the slack tide is going to catch those mangroves. And then mutton snappers offshore in 65 to 80 feet of water off of Hobe Sound. Use a long leader, live pilchard, sardine, or grunt plugs to catch those muttons.
All right, Rick. Well, we are well underway with the Shoreline Showdown Surf Fishing Tournament Series presented by Fish Bites. 4 tournaments, 1 championship, and over $75,000 in guaranteed payouts, plus fishing for a chance to qualify to compete for the title of the Ultimate Surf Angler. We are 2 down with 2 more to go. So for more information on the next tournament dates and locations, make sure you visit shorelineShowdown.com and scan that QR code. All right, well, let's go over to Dorado Dave at the CCA Workbench, who's catching some mahi
Dorado Dave
for the Fish Bites Trading Post Rigs and Techniques.
Got some of my favorite lures up here that we're going to talk about. All of them caught some dolphins. So.
Pretty Islanders.
Oh, so many
right.
ways. So
I
many
love
ways.
the Islanders.
We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Sirius XM Marine. Weather. Fish mapping. Entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Berkeley Prospect Chrome. Fish Bites Trading Post, the first choice of First Coast anglers. Castaway Coffee, one taste and you'll be hooked. And Daiquiri Deck, food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and it's time for the Fish Bites Trading Post rigs and techniques. You know, Dave,
sir.
we are really got it going on.
We got a
here
lot of
on the
stuff here,
bench.
so let's go quickly.
All right.
You know, a good thing to have on your boat all the time and ready is a good spinning rod combo. Most dolphin that we see are under 2 years old and probably under 15 or 20 pounds. You know, a 2-year-old dolphin can weigh 30 pounds though. So, but if you're out there trolling offshore, it's always a good idea to have a spinning rod set up, you know, with a good casting bait on there, maybe like one of those Savage gears. But this is a Penn Slammer 4, 5500. It's got a full metal body. It's all sealed. The drag is sealed. It's waterproof. It's got the Duro drag in it. HT100 carbon fiber. It's got the Penn Carnage 3 rod, which is very thin but very durable rod. And that's a great rod and reel combo to put like 30-pound braid on. You should catch every dolphin that you see, unless it's a monster. And you can throw them one of those little Savage lures there. Those are the small twitch reaper. It's got a great erratic action. It's a good jerk bait. If you get a bunch of schoolies up behind the boat and you throw that in there, they're going to pile on each other trying to get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, Dave, what about if you're just trolling around? What would you suggest?
Well, I like island lures. Like, you know, you see a lot of lures up here, the sail lure, the tracker, you know, smaller stuff with a ballyhoo behind it is what I usually do. This is the rig that I actually use because I live in a place where there's a lot of kingfish and barracudas, so I use wire, and that little blue and white sail lure is just
I love this.
It's just an awesome lure, and it works good without a ballyhoo in it, believe it or not.
Right.
But that's one of my go-tos right there. A naked ballyhoo also on a pin rig is a great bait.
And you use that with an O'Shaughnessy style of hook like
right.
this?
That's Eagle Claw 254, either from a 7/0 all the way up to a 9 or a 10/0 even.
Right.
Depends on, you know, the fish that you're targeting. If you're in a place where you got a lot of big dolphins, you just go upsizing the hook. But that 7/0 hook, I've caught 30-plus pound dolphins on them and didn't pull them. So
right.
They work just as good. And if you're using a smaller ballyhoo or whatever, what you want to do is you want to size your hook to the size of the bait, because you don't want too much bait getting in the gap of that hook. You know, it has to. If he has to go through a big ball of bait to get to the hook point, you'll miss a few. You know, you want to have the hook sitting out there far enough that you can get a bunch in them. And if you don't want to use bait, like I said, a lot of these lures on here will work fine without a bait in them. Jaw Lures makes a really cool combo bait. That's their Mahi Slayer. It's got a hook in each one of those. You can catch double headers of little dolphin on that all the time, and we do. They have another one called the Mahi Hunter, which has got, it's mylar. It's complete, it's got a big mylar head, clear head with a mylar skirt on it. And I'd have one here, but every time I bring it on somebody's boat, I can't get it off of it because they don't want me to take it with them. I catch so many fish on it.
What kind of guys are that?
They're
fishing
They're
with?
greedy.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite lures from Island Lures, the Sea Star. Not only will that catch dolphin, but it'll catch wahoos too. You can run that in the flat. You don't have to run it on an outrigger. They'll come up and eat that.
You hear guys talking about feathers.
Yes, one of the biggest dolphins I ever caught was on a big feather. A feather and or even a sea witch.
A sea witch.
Yeah, you know, you can put a sea witch on with a bigger head than that, or even that same head. Run them deep. A lot of times you'll catch a bigger dolphin down deep. If you put a downrigger out, sometimes I'll catch the biggest dolphin of the day will hit a downrigger or even a planer. You know, for some reason, and if you see a bunch of schoolie dolphins on the surface, you drop a bigger bait down deep below all those schoolie ones. If you can get it down past those schoolies, a lot of time there'll be a great big dolphin sitting underneath them way down deep. They like to hang around that schoolie dolphins, but you usually won't see them. They'll be on the outskirts of that big school, or they'll be down deep below them.
And what size leader do you think is the optimum size?
50 pounds should be good for a dolphin. And here's another thing. It's not a fish that you want to use a circle hook with.
No.
You put a circle hook on there, and he eats it and runs away, and he hits that top speed. It's just like you jerking a circle hook.
Right.
It'll come flying out, especially if you have a big bait in it.
Yeah.
It'll get clogged up in the circle hook, and he'll just speed right through it and toss it. So yeah, this is not a fish that you want to target using a circle hook. You want to use an O'Shaughnessy is my favorite hook for him.
Well, cool, man. You did really good over here. I can't believe that they named a lure after Bree.
Did they? What was that?
I'm not going to say. One of these you mentioned tonight.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, I like them all. I caught my biggest dolphin on this one right here.
That island lure?
Yeah, with a giant. Everything eats that island lure, but the blue and white. But that one had a giant horse ballyhoo in it, and I caught a 60-pound dolphin out of the Cape on that.
I bet Bree thinks I was referring to the sea witch. But I really wasn't. I was referring to the sea star, Bree.
Oh, okay. That was a good save right
Saved
there.
yourself.
All
Saved
right.
myself.
All right, we're not fighting tonight. All right, Captain Pat Deneen in the Sea Sucker Panhandle region has plenty of tips for the mahi catching machines out there. So Pat, let's hear it.
Hey, Bree, I tell you what, dolphin are one of the favorite fish for anglers to catch, and also a favorite on the plate. May, June, and July are the best months for dolphin, but dolphin can be caught in the northern Gulf, well into the fall. And the best years are when the loop current is strong, bringing sargassum and tropical water into the Gulf. Currently, plenty of dolphin are being caught, with small ones common within a few miles off the beach, and larger ones well offshore beyond 100 fathoms. You're going to catch them trolling with small skirted baits like Dave just mentioned, ballyhoos, either naked or skirted, or by casting jigs, plugs, and baits near and around floating debris. But you want to be ready in case a school happens upon you while bottom fishing, which is pretty common right now. You be bottom fishing, all of a sudden there's a lot of small dolphins around, so have some spinning rods ready in case that happens. And you should keep a hooked fish in the water to keep the others nearby. That's a pretty well-known tip that should be employed. There's a photo there of two young anglers with a pair of decent mahi. They caught with all-out charters from Two Georges Marina in Shalimar this past week.
I love it.
That is fun right there.
All right, dude, keep rolling. What do you got?
Yeah, Rick, I tell you, staying offshore, plenty of red snappers are being caught from state and federal waters. The season has been open for several weeks now, so the more public spots are definitely showing the pressure with smaller fish and smarter fish. So live cigar minnows and herrings are typically the basic choice, but a live shrimp can sometimes fool even the more wary, pressured snappers. Additionally, lighter, longer leaders can make a difference. And then finally, chumming or chunking will bring these snappers well up into the water column where you can catch them on lighter tackle. And there's a cool photo there of Jen Norris. She's a Destin native, showing off a beautiful red snapper she caught on the charter boat Destination out of Destin. That's a lot of Destins in one sentence right there.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's go inshore, bub.
Moving inshore, Rick, there's lots of mangroves are being caught in all our bay systems. They're around the deeper structure, particularly near the inlets like the Destin Bridge, Pickens Pier, range markers, and jetties. Throw a 1/4-inch net to catch small pilchards and herrings for bait and for chum. Notoriously wary mangrove snappers are definitely tackle smart. So go with 10 or 12-pound fluorocarbon leaders, small hooks, and lightweights. The best bite is with a little bit of moving water. The bay mangroves are hovering that barely legal mark. And then finally, after all the winds and surf of last week, the coastal Gulf water has dirtied up quite a bit, making tarpon harder to find. But when you find them, they've been biting very good. Typically, you're going to find them right along that second bar and often in the gully between the bar and the beach. And you don't need a boat to catch tarpon in the Panhandle. Plenty are being hooked off the Gulf side piers by casting large swim baits to rolling fish or passing schools. We primarily live bait them on my boat using cigar minnows, herrings, and pilchards. We either free line them or fish these baits under a float. The float is especially useful for really slow-moving fish. Been a variety of sizes lately, still a few smaller 40 to 50-pound fish. In fact, we caught one yesterday. It was probably the smallest one that we've caught on the Gulf. It probably didn't weigh 30 pounds. But it does seem like a lot more larger fish are showing up. And there's a photo of a fat fish we brought boat side on the charter this past week.
Oh, I'd say that's a fat one, bub. All right, well, keep up the good work. Proud of you. Appreciate everything you do. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Panhandle hotspots from Patty's region. He says inshore, the mangrove snappers are on the inlet structures. You want to fish them with light leader and small pilchards or herring. And then early in the morning, the tuna bite at the Oskaloosa. Say it.
Okaloosa.
Okaloosa Fad. All right. They pulled it. They pulled it. They didn't let
All
me
right.
finish reading
I
my
know.
stuff.
You know what? I'm just going to start reading the hotspots.
You should read everything.
I should.
Now, if you need me to add up some for you, I'm ready. Because you know I'm brilliant when it comes to math. I just can't spell math.
I can't. I can spell math. I can't math. So
I
there we
got
go.
you.
All right, who wouldn't want to win some extra cash this summer? Well, if you were the first to catch a CCA Florida Star tagged Dolphin, you could win $10,000 cash or scholarship in the Tigers Outriggers and Gear tagged Dolphin division. Over 20 Mahi, or Dolphin, as we call them as well, released in the lower Florida Keys sporting red star tags. Be a member of CCA and registered in the competition before you catch the fish and win. And you know, it's not only tag dolphin that win. Catch any dolphin or offshore species and enter in the Ingle Cooler Offshore Division presented by AFCO to win a 250 Yamaha or one of the other amazing prizes. Remember, any saltwater fish caught in the state of Florida can be entered in the star competition, so make sure you get registered today at ccaflstar.com. There are so many divisions, so many ways to enter, like they said, so just do it.
That's
You've
right.
got nothing
Just do
to
it.
lose.
Just do it.
Really. All right, we've got our Casa Vieja Southeast Region captain ready to help us reel in the weekend. But first, we are seeing what the Real Legends Central East Region has to offer with Captain Jim Ross. Keep your lines in the water, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio, Blue Light Blocking Radically Clear Polarized Fishing Sunglasses, Scoozy Shoes, the captain's choice for premium lightweight comfort, Sea Sucker, easy on, easy off, incredibly strong, Penn, let the battle begin, Kubota, together we do more. And the International Order of T. Roosevelt, protect your right to fish.
Well, Rick, SiriusXM Marine has changed the fishing game with their fish mapping app. So let's check out how easy and effective it is to use before heading out on the water.
All right, let's check it out.
Deciding where I want to fish offshore used to be time-consuming. Now with SiriusXM Marine's fish mapping service, I have access to the data I need to make informed decisions while at home and on the water. I use the fish mapping app on my phone or tablet to decide where the best fishing spots might be. Then once I get to the boat, I check their satellite delivered service on my MFD while I'm heading offshore to see what the latest data is showing. Fish mapping includes all of SiriusXM Marine's weather features, plus several fishing features like fishing recommendations, which show color-coded areas to fish based on ideal conditions for different species of game fish. If I don't see any recommendations in my area, I use the plankton fronts and sea surface temperature fronts features to see where the strong fronts are, as they tend to attract bait fish. I also look at weed line locations to see where the most prominent weed lines are and track their path to see where they're heading. Another feature I check out is sea surface height anomaly, which shows upwellings and possible eddy locations, which are areas where nutrient-rich water is likely to be coming up from below, attracting bait fish. Fish mapping's data helps me plan my fishing trips and lets me stay connected while I'm offshore so I can focus on the fun part. And the SiriusXM weather features lets me see a full picture of the weather around me so I can make informed decisions when offshore. The peace of mind I get with this service is invaluable. I simply won't leave the dock without it. All right, well, when it comes to Mahi in the Casa Vieja Lodge Southeast region, Captain Jimbo Thomas knows them upside down, backwards, inside out, and just about any other way you can think of. So let's see what his secret is aboard the Thomas Flyer.
That sounds really good. I wish I caught that many of them recently. But, you know, we do catch quite a few dolphin. And throughout the course of the year, we catch more dolphin than we do any other kind of fish. Now, we do catch them throughout the year, but June through September are definitely the most productive times. And catching dolphin is the easy part, but finding them is the hard part. Now, our greatest dolphin fishing tool is a good pair of binoculars, and you want a compass in that binocular. So when you look through the binoculars, you see some birds or floating debris, say it's at 80 degrees, 75 degrees, whatever it is, you got a heading that you can get there. And you can see your birds roughly about a mile away on a good day, and the floating debris on calm days roughly a mile away. Now, aboard the Flyer, We like to troll a couple of small to medium lures at, say, 7 to 8 knots, and we look through those binoculars for signs of fish. Once we locate a fishy area or spot fish, we throw small live baits along with cut baits. We like to use 20-pound 20-pound pin spinning outfits. And in the last few days, there's been a few dolphin around. I wouldn't say that they're running, but the fish that we have been finding, and we've been using our Sirius XM fish mapping to find weed lines and color changes and current rips, but we've been finding them around some scattered sargassum, any floating debris, and occasionally under birds. Now, I got a photo here. This is the crew of the Native Sun fishing team with the winning catch of the recent Black Point Yacht Club Dolphin tournament. That's the third year in a row that these guys have won that tournament, so they are doing really good there.
Good for them. All right.
Yep.
Tell us about the snappers.
Yep, a little closer at the inshore nighttime mangrove snapper bite has still been going off. Mostly mangrove snappers. They've been in the 2 to 4 pound range, and they're being found on the outside reef in 40 to 80 feet of water, and they basically start to bite just after dark. You want to look for hard, ledgy bottom with sea fans on the outside edge of the reef. Fish with a knocker rig. You want to use just enough weight to hold bottom, a 30-pound mono or fluoro leader with 1/0 to 3/0 hooks. Best baits have been ballyhoo plugs and cut bonita. And if you got any lights on the boat, there's a good chance that you're going to get some baits up in the lights, pilchers and goggle eyes. You can put a sabiki down, catch those, put them back out for bait. Now, Captain Ryan Ormston aboard the party boat Reward out of Miami Marina, he's been doing night trips, and he's been finding the mangrove snappers along with a mix of yellowtails and muttons on the reef off Government Cut. He recommends not to put out any block chum, since that'll attract a lot of the small stuff and the bait stealers. But the only drawback is those bull sharks, which has been going on for quite a while now. They've been eating a lot of those hooked fish. Now, I got another photo here, and this is young Luke Ormston with a big bunt snapper caught aboard the Reward with his dad, Captain Ryan.
Nice.
That's a nice one there.
Yeah, it is.
He caught it all by himself as well.
Good.
So moving inshore, still have plenty of tarpon in and around the inlets and also around the bridges and the lit docks at night. There's also been good amounts of tarpon along the beaches adjacent to those inlets, and definitely it's a lot easier to fish off the beaches with this calm weather we've had, and you don't have to mess with the boat traffic and all that current that you have to deal with in the inlets themselves. Now, off the beaches, they've been eating live crabs, also live baits like pilchards, herrings, mullet, pinfish. And if the water is real clear, which with this calm weather it has been, you might want to scale down your tackle, be a little more stealthy. Don't be afraid to go down the smaller circle hooks and lighter fluoro leaders as light as 30-pound tests to get those bites. And around the bridges, fish live or artificial baits along the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. Now, these same fish that are around the bridges at night, they've been migrating to the deeper holes in the bays as the sun comes up, and they can be caught on live baits or live crabs early in the mornings and even throughout the day. Then also, the flats at the south end of the region, they've been seeing some great permit fishing. You want to look on both the inside and outside flats from Soldier's Key south to Angelfish Creek for both cruising and tailing permit. Best fishing is going to be on the hard bottom flats that have good moving water, both the incoming and outgoing tide. A small live crab placed in their path, that'll generally get you a permit bite, or you can try placing a crab pattern fly. Hopefully they eat that if you get it in front of them. And you want to wait for the sun to come up to get some prime visibility, or if you got an overcast day, try working over light-colored bottom, and most of these permit have been in the 6 to 15-pound range.
All right, Jimbo, thank you so much. We're going to take a look at the Black Oak LED hotspots. Jimbo says that they're inshore. You're going to fish in your local inlet in the afternoon with live and artificial baits to catch and release snook and tarpon. And then offshore, look for the dolphin. Offshore under the birds, scattered weeds, and any floating debris, just like his hotspots matched his report.
Exactly. And you know what? I also noticed he mentioned fish mapping service, which he uses from
Yes.
Sirius XM Marine.
Yes, he
He's-
really uses it.
He's a pro. He
Yeah,
goes
man.
every day.
Yeah.
But for, the average angler who hasn't been out in a week or so, it's nice to have that help, right?
Absolutely.
It's hard to
Knowing
find the
where the
fish.
weed lines are yesterday and where they moved to today, it's imperative to be mahi fishing under.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, well, you never know what you're going to catch trolling around the Rio Legends Central East region, but if you're with Captain Jim Ross, you're for sure catching a memory. Hi, Jim.
I appreciate that, Bree. How are y'all doing
Wow, that was a nice little lead in.
tonight? That
Perfect.
sure was.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, the Rio Legends region, we're kind of right in the middle of our dolphin run, and they've been coming through in waves. And so guys and gals that are getting out there, sometimes they're finding them, pretty close, and then other times they got to run a little bit. But overall, it has been a much better year in the Rio Legends region this year compared to the last few, so that's a positive. We like to troll skirted or naked chin-weighted ballyhoo, just like they do pretty much everywhere else. And like Mike Holiday was saying, you want to try and find that color change, that rip, some kind of floating debris, and you want to be the first guy to it. And that's usually who's going to get those dolphin hookups. A lot of the fish are coming from the deeper offshore waters over the first part of the season. That 200 to 250 foot mark, even out to 400 feet, but guys who are venturing to the east side of the Gulf Stream are finding really good numbers of gappers and even a few slammers when they're searching for tunas over there. Now, when we're typically looking for dolphin, we're not using that bigger tuna gear. We're typically using like a pin fathom lever drag reel. 30-pound class. Carnage rod works pretty good. 30 to 40-pound mono typically that's a great trolling setup for dolphin here in this region. And, if it's light enough, it makes those smaller fish a lot of fun. And then you still got the capability to catch those bigger fish when you do get them on. Now, our average one is running 5 to 10 pounds, but we've got a couple of decent ones here. I've got a picture. Captain William Skipper put some guys on some nice ones the other day out of Sebastian Inlet.
That sure is a
Not too
nice fish,
shabby.
buddy. All right, what
Find
else?
Captain William at Warp Speed Charters, and he has been really doing some work down there lately. Now, our second offshore species is tarpon, and this is the funny thing. Our tarpon usually hang right on the beach, but some of the guys are finding them out in 50 to 70 feet of water. They're feeding around schools out there because our inshore waters are really dirty right now. And so you never know where you're going to find these things, but as long as you find the bait, you're typically going to find the fish. So one day they're in 12 to 15 feet, the next day they're out in 50. You just have to do a little running. When you find clean water and bait, you're going to find them. I like to use my Pin Authority 6500 spinning reels. I use some 40-pound test braided line, and I typically use a 60 to 80-pound leader when I'm fishing for these fish, unless the water's clean, and then I will drop down to 50-pound leader. Most of our fish are running from 60 to 120 pounds right now, and I've got a picture here of one that we released the other day.
Nice fish, bud. All right, tell us about the speckled trout.
Well, you know how America's favorite fish, or the saltwater angler's favorite fish in the Southeast, I should say, is the go-to species for most anglers here in the state of Florida. And Captain Mike Mann of Fat Fish Guide Service up in New Smyrna has been absolutely pestering the tarpon. But I tell you, when he's not messing with those tarpon, he has been getting a lot of these big trout. He's putting his clients on some really good trout bites. It's been a hot bite this week on the 4-inch sea shad tails when you're fishing around those grassy areas in the northern Mosquito Lagoon. And he's also using live pigfish as well. He's been doing really good between Tiger Shoal and the high bar down towards Pardon Slough in that middle to northern section of that particular body of water. Mike says get out super early, be super quiet, and he advises not running across the flats. He says enter and exit them on your trolling motor or your push pole. Get your Rodan down or get your push pole out and slide in and out of these places because those bigger fish are in there. But if you run across the flat, you're gonna blow it out, and they're not gonna want to feed. I've got a picture here of a nice, good-sized trout that we had a junior angler catch here the other day.
Nice.
And then my last species is shark. Now, everybody likes sharks. Well, maybe not everybody, but we've got a lot of sharks right now. We've got bull sharks in particular throughout the entire region inshore. We've got them in the inlets, in the creeks like Sebastian River, Turkey Creek, Crane Creek. They're even along the ICW channel. They're around the Haulover Canal up between the Mosquito Lagoon and the Northern Indian River. There's a lot of sharks out there right now, but it's a great way to get junior anglers involved. You can slow troll or drift with live mullet just like you would for, tarpon, and some of those bull sharks are running along with the tarpon. And then also on the flats using cut baits when we're chunking for big redfish, you can also find really good fish there. And some of the better areas have been around the Melbourne Causeway, off the power lines around Turkey Creek, and the dredge holes around the Pineda Causeway for some of these bigger bulls. And then over in the north part of the region, the Haulover Canal, like I was mentioning, in that northern Mosquito Lagoon area has been good. I've got one here that Dylan caught the other day with me, right there on the flats in Port St. John. We were using a Penn Battle DX 4000, and that was a cute little bull shark, but it was his first one, so I wanted to put him on the show, and he had a big time catching that fish on that little Penn 4000.
Well, good for you to take a picture of the man's first little shark. I like it. Yep. All right, Jimmy, thank you. It's time for the Rodan Marine Systems Hotspots. Jimmy says that inshore, the nighttime snook at Sebastian Inlet fish swim baits near the T-dock and cleaning table area for fish up to 38 inches. And then offshore, the mangrove snappas offshore in Ponce Inlet. Guess what? Fish small live pigfish or cut bait on the reefs in 70 to 130 feet of water.
All right, well, Dave is getting ready over at the CCA workbench for Taco Marine new products. And you know what? It's looking kind of spiffy over there, Dave.
Oh, he got something to charge us up about.
Shining up some vinyl. Making sure that upholstery's nice and clean.
Oh, gotta have that. Oh, and the mouth.
No,
Rick will probably put it in his mouth,
That's
knowing him. And then we are checking out what our front runner boats Northeast Region Captain Tommy Derringer has on deck for us. Make sure you stay hooked, and we'll be right back. Taking pictures, what he does best.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Abyss Battery, power your pursuit. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, best lures, period. Black Oak LED, never be left in the dark. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, it's time for the Taco Marine new products here at the CCA workbench. Dude.
Yes.
We got, sometimes this place is overloaded, but tonight, look how clean and neat you have it.
Oh, I don't know how that happened.
You did well.
I wasn't trying. Anyway, we got the ceramic Starbright Vinyl Protect over there. It's ultimate protection for your vinyl and your upholstery. It's got the ceramic infused formula that creates a really durable barrier against UV, dirt, grime, all the nasty stuff that can get in your upholstery or on your vinyl. It restores the suppleness and the moisture into the vinyl. So if you have an old vinyl seat and you want to bring it back to life, this is a great product for it. Even leather surfaces, actually, rubber, plastic, leather, it'll work on all of it. You spray it on or spray it on a cloth and wipe it on. You really don't want to do too much overspray because this stuff is slickery, man. It is very, very slick.
You saw it firsthand when we were down in the Keys this past weekend.
Yeah, if you put that on non-skid and it oversprays onto the non-skid, whoop, you'll be finding yourself with the feet in the air and your butt on the non-skid. So, avoid spraying it on your non-skid or any gas or brake pedals on a motorcycle or a boat. on a car or anything. If you want to use it on your car, make sure you don't put it on something that you don't want it to be sliding around on.
Guys, try it on your rub rail. Like Dave said, apply it to a rag and just wipe it on your rub rail. You won't believe how beautiful that black rub rail will look.
Really, it looks really nice.
Yep.
So go to starbright.com to get that. Next, we have TH Marine, an LED lighted stainless steel rim drink holder. And what this is a cup holder that you can put in, in your boat anywhere, and it'll add ambient light, a little bit of illumination to your boat without being an obvious light. This whole thing lights up pretty nice, as you can see in the little cups on there.
And you can
it's
pick
red,
your colors.
Yeah, red, green, white, or blue. And they got 15 super bright little LED lights in there, and that nice stainless steel rim. It's got a UV stable molded cup holder and a little nipple on the bottom that you could either let it drain into the boat, or you can put a little hose on there and route the drainage to some place where you want it to go, and like into your bilge or something. The light system on there is waterproof, and it takes a 12 volt power supply.
Right. So where do we go to find it?
thmarinesupply.com.
All right.
Next, we have a Berkeley Juke saltwater. It's a highly versatile little bait there. You can crank it, you can twitch it, you can troll it. It has a really nice lifelike movement because it's got those flat sides, and it likes to really roll over and twitch for you. It's got a coffin-shaped bill on it for the max darting action and a side flash, and you don't really have to move the rod that much to get it to do all that stuff. It's got precision-tuned rattles inside, and it's a shallow suspending bait, so it'll go down 2 or 3 feet and hang.
Right.
And it's got all the iconic bait fish patterns and colorations on there. Really, really cool little doodad.
BerkeleyFishing.com.
Yes.
All right, Dave. This is to charge up our life.
This is the battery tender wave charger, 3-bank selectable, 12 volt or 6 volt battery charger. It simultaneously charges 3 different batteries, or maintains 3 batteries at once. You can use it with your lithium batteries or your lead acid batteries. Doesn't make any difference.
Or glass mat batteries.
Yep, it's got they're all independent charging banks, and you can select which ones you want to use there. All the LED indicators will tell you what the charging status is, and it has an automatic float, so when the battery gets charged fully, it'll stop charging that battery and keep it optimally charged, so that'll make your batteries last longer.
It has a waterproof rating.
Right, it's waterproof, dustproof, shock resistant, weighs about 3.5 pounds, so you're not putting a whole lot of weight in your boat. 120 volt input, and it has a 2-year warranty. So you go to batterytender.com. It'll work on posts or rings.
I love it.
So
I'm so glad you got this for me.
Yeah, it's for you.
All right.
For me.
Always for me.
Always for Rick. I was just going to say that. All right, well, the Dolphin days are not quite over in the Front Runner Boats Northeast region, so let's see what our summer chances of catching a nice gaffer is with Captain Tommy Derringer. What's up, Tommy?
Hey, Bree, you're right. Our dolphin fishing never runs out here. We've always got them around, and we've got a great dolphin fishery here in the Front Runner Boats Northeast region. We've had a great year, and even though really the main part of our dolphin run is pretty much done for the season, you can still catch some nice fish offshore. Typically, the best time of year to catch dolphin in my region is going to be like April through May, although, like I said, you can catch them year-round. And this spring, we had a great little run of dolphin with some big numbers and lots of big fish. I saw some really big fish coming to the docks. We're past that big dolphin run, but if you get out there, you can still find them, and you're going to want to start looking for a good tide or a color change, preferably with some stacked up weeds, anywhere from just inside the ledge out to even as deep as 1,500 feet. Now, as we get into the summer months, those dolphin, sometimes they move in inside even a little near shore along some of the wrecks and reefs. There's even some decent ones caught inside of 15 miles, which is pretty close for us along the reefs throughout the summer. Now, some typical rigs, are be something like a ballyhoo rigged with a 7/0 Eagle Claw hook and 60 to 100 pound fluorocarbon, along with maybe an 1/8 to a 1/2 ounce chin weight. And you can also run 1 or 2 chuggers or bubblers along with those naked ballyhoos. Now, the cool thing about this time of year is when you're out there trolling for those guys, it's a good mixed bag, so you get a chance of catching a tuna, a sail, a wahoo, even those dolphin that'll be out there. So I've got a picture here. My buddy Captain Jimmy Laidler sent me this picture of Kevin Boos with a nice dolphin that he caught aboard the Legend out of St. Augustine. Now, also offshore, right now, man, the mangrove snapper, that mango bite continues to be good here throughout the region. We're just coming off a good full moon with some big tides that we had last weekend, and the snappers have been grouped up offshore because of it. I spoke to Captain Jason Hadges from J-Hook Fishing Charters. He tells me he's been chumming up those snappers. He's fishing in about 100 on out to about 160 feet, and he's using cut sardines, Boston Max, or cut bonita for chumming. That cut bonita is really good if you can find that. Jason says he's going to go down in leader size and up on the leader length. It really depends on the water clarity. But about 30-pound leader and 15 feet of it, that's usually about the right size and length. The average size of those mangoes still big in that 8 to 12-pound class. And speaking of big mangoes, I've got another picture here.
God.
Captain Jason Hatch's son, Braden, with a chunky mango that he caught aboard the jig. That's a big snapper right there.
That's wild.
Yeah, it
Big
is.
mango.
Big snapper. All right, go inshore.
And man, the snook. Hey, snook, new trout here in the Northeast region. Not really. I'm kind of joking, but not really. I've had a bunch of good snook reports. I've seen some pictures of some really big ones last few weeks here through the region. But right now, from Daytona through Palm Coast, the snook have been fired up during those low light conditions, like first thing in the morning and then right again before dark. Topwater plugs like the Berkeley Jaywalker and the Cane Walker, those are both getting smoked by those snook right now. Target areas that are holding schools of finger mullet. That's real important. Find those schools of bait. You're probably going to find those fish underneath them. And you can find the snook by just watching for those busts and then listening. Because if you're out there during low light, listen for those busts. They make, Rick, I know you know that sound real well. If you hear that bust, go looking for it. That's where the snook are. The docks on the ICW, the seawalls, and just about any other structure along the ICW can be holding some snook if that bait is around. A free line mullet or a big select live shrimp, that's also going to work well for those snook. And there's also been quite a few snook caught in the north end of the region. And we've been catching some nice snook while targeting redfish this week in St. Augustine. Speaking of redfish, moving on to them, the wind has finally laid down and the tide has been right first thing in the morning here with the low tide. The topwater bite has been great. Get out early. I mean, like really early. I was out there this morning at 5:45, but about 6 a.m. to about 7:30 a.m., that's the time frame where that topwater bite is happening. Once the sun gets up, we've been switching over to either a paddle tail or a live or cut mullet, fishing around the oyster bars on the flats, and then fishing a live shrimp on a jig if you're fishing a little deeper in the creek holes. Now, there's been some nice upper slot fish around, and speaking of nice upper slot fish, I've got one last picture here. This is Leah and her dad, Tim, with Leah's biggest fish ever that she caught with me on a charter last week. Congratulations, Leah.
All right, Tommy,
cute.
thank you for all the great pictures, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region. He says inshore, the redfish and the snook on the topwater plugs at first light on the high outgoing tide, the target grass lines that are holding bait, and look for busting fish. And then offshore, the mangrove snappers, look for them in the areas over structure in 100 to 160 feet of water that have slower tides, making the chumming easier.
All right, well, when you're on the road this summer, make sure you show your support for Florida's fisheries with a Conserve Florida's Fisheries license plate. Funds from the sale of the redfish tag directly support protecting and enhancing marine resources, habitat restoration, water quality, and coastal environmental education. Remember, your $25 redfish tag helps ensure our marine resources will be here for future generations. Make sure you get yours now at your local DMV or redfishtag.com. My appointment is tomorrow.
Yay!
It's been 10 years, so I'm getting a new tag, and this is going to be it. All right, coming up next, we are checking in with the StarTron Central West region and then heading to the Alto Equipment Southwest region with Captain Ronnie Houston. And remember to keep up with everything fishing in Florida. Scan that QR code to see all of our social media channels and check out our website where you can easily browse and purchase any product you see here on the show, plus some show swag. So scan away and happy shopping. We'll be back.
Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. Takeuchi, from world first to world leader. The Florida Keys and Key West, come as you are. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Welcome back. If you're fishing the StarTron Central West region with Dorado on the brain, Captain Jeff Page has some tips for your offshore excursions. What's up, Page?
Hey, good evening, fish fans. To steal that from Randy Cow, we're not well known for dolphin fishing like a lot of the other Atlantic coast species, key species, but we have them, and this is the time of year right up through the fall that you can go out into the Gulf of the Startron Central West region and catch dolphin, and it's basically the same strategy. You want to find weed lines, you want to find color change, you want to find birds diving, and you can target them. And the same rule applies. Once you hook one, especially in the school size, keep him in the water till you can get more lines in the water, because there's usually more. Now, the other way we catch the bigger cows and bulls is while we're bottom fishing out in the Gulf. Pay attention, have a flat line ready. I always say it with cobia, same rule, have a flat line ready, because you could have one come by or follow a fish up. So that's another good tactic. And then, of course, lift plugs along weed lines and color changes. You're going to be able to score well on a Mahi dolphin. My photo tonight is of longtime Venice Captain Randy Powell with a real pretty Gulf of Mexico dolphin. And then rolling, staying offshore, red snapper. The American red snapper has probably been our #1 sought after offshore species since the season is so short and the fish is so popular, especially on the dinner plate. And guys have had some good weather these past week or so to get out on them. 150 feet, Rick, seems like the right depth of water. Even out a little further if you're looking for bigger fish. Hard bottom areas, ledges, live pinfish have been probably the best bait, but don't be afraid to drop down on some frozen sardines on a standard bottom rig, and you're gonna get your snapper. My photo tonight is of a catch. I'm sure he had 5 or 6 guys on the charter, but that's from Captain Kalen, the Flying Hawaiian O-layer out of Stump Pass Marina down in the south part of my region, with some nice red snapper, nice red grouper, and look, even a few kicker scamp in there.
Yeah, man, I want to go with that guy. Golly, come on. All right, let's roll inshore.
I can set that up for you. We used to fish redfish tournaments against him. All right, moving inshore, snook fishing. I know you had some good snook fishing this week, Rick. It remains really good around here, especially along the beaches and in the inlets and passes. I've gotten good reports of guys catching just off the jetty at Venice Jetties on that afternoon outgoing tide. The crabs have been flushing out, and they're sipping crabs. That's probably the most overlooked snook bait there is on that hill tide, is they're eating the crabs flushing out. Put a crab on a hook, just like you would for a tarpon, you're going to hook a snook. Now, as far as in the bay, on the high tide, which has been midday to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, around the oyster bars and the points of mangrove islands, like Ronnie Houston always talks about fishing them points where that current flows around, especially that outgoing tide. Top water action can be good if the grass is not too bad, but live pilchard, live pinfish will work real good down around the oyster bars in Turtle Bay and Bull Bay to the south, and up off of Joe's Bay and Terracea Bay to the north. I like using that 110 Jaywalker in the bone pattern in the top water. Got a really nice picture of a happy young angler with a nice snook. She caught with Captain Josh Prunier out of Bradenton. And my last species, you know I'm just a trout fisherman. Water temperatures are up. Those trout have moved out to the deeper grass flats. And if you can make out the difference with your glasses, sunny day, find those deeper patches of turtle grass. You're going to catch some really nice trout. And I've been doing real well with a gulp shrimp, Rick. Poppy down, popping the cork over the dark patches of grass or right on the edges of where the sand meets the grass. And my last photo tonight is with a guy with a Startron gator trout that he caught with legendary captain Scotty Moore.
Yeah, that's a legend for sure.
Nice. Paige, when are we going to see you on Zoom?
I don't know. I tried to get my iPad working, and I think I got to get a new one. So maybe Ricky will get me one.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah, he
boy.
will.
You see how he put that right back on me, man? Everybody wants to be on the Ricky Dicky payroll.
Yep.
All right, bud, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots from the Central West region. My beloved Captain Page says inshore nighttime snook fishing at the Rod and Reel Pier on Anna Maria, as well as Longboat Pass Bridge. Look, New Pass Bridge as well has been good on the incoming nighttime tide, fishing with live ladyfish or silver mullets. And then offshore, the red snapper bite is off of Venice south to Stump Pass. It remains strong. Hard bottom areas on 150 to 190 feet of water. Use live pinfish for bait. What do you think, Bree?
I think in order to see Jeff Page's beautiful face and amazing smile, you need to get him a new iPad.
Oh, boy.
Come on.
I don't think we'll be seeing him.
Oh, come on. All right, Captain Ronnie Houston is steering away from the Mahi madness and focusing his efforts on something more popular to catch in the Also Equipment Southwest region. Go for it, Ronnie.
Well, you know, Bree, it's not typically common that they target these fish in the region, but you can still catch them. And what is common is the black groupers. And while out in those depths, or running out to those depths of about 150 to 200 feet, you will come across the dolphins, although they are small compared to the East Coast. And if you do come across them, they're pretty easy to catch on just about any small cut bait, live bait, or bucktails. But Captain Bo Johnson has steadily been on the blacks. And in the last couple of weeks, he's been catching them in depths right now of about 160 to 170 feet in the last 2 weeks. And he's using a variety of cut baits to catch these fish or frozen baits on the bottom. And that depth has been key for him, that 160 to 170. He's also using frozen cigar minnows. They've been his best producers. You know, a lot of live baits will also catch these fish and cut baits, but he's telling me the cigar minnows have been the best. And I've got a nice picture of nice black grouper recently caught while fishing with Bo Johnson on the Boxum 2.
Nice. All right, tell me about the red snappers.
You know, the next offshore species is, we've had the winds, since red snapper season's opened, winds have been pretty heavy. But when the winds have been blowing, it's been tough. But according to several captains, as soon as they die down, reports all along the coast from several captains, start catching them as close to 140 feet and they'll work your way out and beyond. Now, you're looking for areas of structure, especially if the bait is stacked just above the bottom. And once you find them, currents right, winds right, limits are going to come easy. Once you find them being on the bottom, though, with enough weight, you got to feel the bite. The red snapper bites quick, and you got to start horsing them up right away. Also, having a variety of baits while you're out there. They can be picky and finicky at times, so live pinfish, herring, cigar minnows, as well as a variety of cut baits. Just, couple guys on the boat use a variety of baits, see what they're really keen in on. And another picture of a nice fish recently caught while fishing with Bo Johnson on the Boxing 2. So he's on the black groupers and the red snappers.
Yeah, he is.
The inshore bite, the tarpon, this is a great year to catch the tarpon, especially if the air temps are hot. There's still plenty of opportunity for catching fish all out through the region. But right now, plover, key to coongie, you want to concentrate off the outer edge, especially on the lower tides, if it's combined with the lighter wind. Once you start scanning the horizon, you'll see these fish, depths of about 5 to 12 feet of water. Once you find the tarpon, I'm telling you right now, I'm snook fishing some areas. There's very little pressure on them, and actually they're becoming a menace while I'm trying to snook fish. A variety of live baits like live ladyfish, live pinfish, crabs, or even herrings. Wind dies down, herring schools is pretty thick. 4 to 8 inch swim baits. Variety of lift plugs. Using those lift plugs, get them down into the mid-range of the water column. Here's a nice tarpon recently caught in the last week, beating the storms with Captain Chris McCubbin out of Naples. Last species is going to be the snook. They're really starting to move in. With all the rain we've finally gotten fresh water, we've gotten things have changed, and it's a great opportunity to probably catch some of your personal bests right now with snook right now from 35 to 40 inches. Whittling to Pavilion Key, concentrating on the outer Gulf points, your passes over areas of deadwood at high tides, and we've got plenty of blowdowns all down through the coast, especially with the storms we've had in the last couple of years. Might want to heavy up in your leaders, 60 to 80 pound leaders. When you catch a big fish, big live baits like the bass assassin die dappers. Key colors have been Houdini, snowstorm, or you want to catch a big fish, the big Berkeley cane walkers and the 120, also the jaywalkers. A couple good colors right now have been the pilchard, the bone, and the Muller colors. When you catch some big fish and get big bites, use big baits. There's a nice big snook recently caught in the last week by Captain Derek Daffin. So these bigger snook are moving in. You're catching a lot more bigger snook. A few slots here and there and a variety of small ones. Want to get your personal best, now's the time to get out.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the battery tender hotspots from the Southwest region. Ronnie says inshore, the West Wall, Pine Island Sound, first half of the incoming and the last half of the outgoing tide, using cut bait and live pinfish and pilchers for those big snooks. And then offshore, mangrove snappers and yellowtails. It's the summertime bite fishing on the wrecks and ledges of 75 to 90 feet of water. Chumming and using cut baits is going to work for those guys. Snappers.
Big fish, big bites, big baits.
That's how it works.
Done.
You got to eliminate the small fish bite. Put something on there he can't put in his mouth.
There you go. Speaking of big fish, anglers, get ready for the 43rd annual Key West Marlin Tournament, July 17th through the 20th. That's coming up soon with record-breaking payouts, legendary offshore angling, and nightly festivities, which I hear are pretty fun. In the iconic Florida Keys, a Hemingway-esque adventure awaits, so make sure you get registered pretty soon at keywestmarlin.com.
Absolutely.
July's on the way. All right, get ready to feast on mahi tacos, fingers, bites, or however you like to eat them, because we have one last captain in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region to check our weekend report with. So stay hooked and we'll be back.
You know what else happens in July? Your birthday!
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. 30 years of fishing for adventure. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. Real Legends. Available at bellsflorida.com. And Taco Marine. Master the catch.
Today's Power Pole tip is about the total boat control package. When you put a Power Pole charge in your boat, a Power Pole move on the bow, and our shallow water anchors on the back, you save over 80 to 90 pounds on your boat compared to the competition. That's a 43% weight savings. To put that in perspective, that's 20 bags of ice out of the boat, 10 gallons of fuel, or 1,300 jig heads coming out of the boat to give you a shallower draft, a better hole shot, or more top end speed. That's the Power Pole Premium brand. It's hardcore anglers building the best products in the marine industry, backed by the best customer service here in Tampa, Florida. To learn more about Power Pole, go to powerpole.com, and that's your Power Pole tip.
And a good tip it is.
Yes, it is.
You didn't understand my accent. Catching dolphin in the Discover
I can't hear
Crystal.
anything, Bree.
I was like, hey, what'd you say?
Yeah, what?
Catching dolphin in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region is definitely a commitment with some possible long runs. So, Captain Hag, give us some hope, please.
Dolphin can be caught throughout my region. Depending on where you're at in my region, depends on how much running you're going to have to do to get to them. The summer months, you can find them 90 plus feet out. All the same stuff everybody was talking about tonight. Look for weed lines, birds, bait, anything on a floating flotsam. Most of the fish that are caught in less than 100 feet are going to be those smaller chicken dolphins. The bigger ones are going to be off the shelf, trolling pink or white or blue and white, green and yellow, soft heads, jet heads work good too, with or without ballyhoo attached to them. When fishing offshore, I like to keep a light spinning rod ready to go with just a 1/4 ounce bucktail in yellow or white, ready to go when those little chickens come by the boat when we're bottom fishing. But all the same stuff works throughout in our region that works everywhere else. It's just the amount of time you're going to spend on the throttle getting to them. But what we do have right now, Captain Rob Davenport with Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete, where it's a good scamp bite right now. It's been good in anywhere from 140 to 160 feet of water, 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader, 6 ounces of lead, and a 6 to 8/0 circle hook, depending on what size bait you're using. The live bait has been the key right now, and the choice bait has been pinfish. I got a picture here of Derek and Hannah Ray with a nice scamp.
Nice.
I love them. They're so pretty.
I like Derek's shirt. Look at his shirt.
Sportsman Adventures.
Sportsman Adventures. He went to Guatemala with me last year.
Oh, there we go.
Casa Vieja.
Nice.
All right.
Reppin'.
Keep going.
Moving on inshore, Captain Jim Pollard of Big Daddy Sport Fishing reports a good redfish bite. Redfish have moved inshore around the oyster bars, mangrove edges with good moving water. With the big high tides we've had all week and the full moon, Captain Jim's been using anywhere from 3 to 4 feet of 25-pound fluorocarbon leader, 2-aught circle hook, and Jim's using a combination of live pilchard Spanish sardines and pinfish. When he finds out which they're liking to eat, he switches to that. And I got a great photo from Captain Jim of a nice Tampa Bay redfish.
Nice.
Sporting cool glasses, too.
Yeah,
Nice.
he is.
And a big fish.
All right, what else you got, Hag?
Huddleston's got a redfish report for us, too, out of Ozena Fish Camp, CaptainHud.com. Redfish and snook have begun moving into St. Joseph Sound lower tides. Gold spoons have been working on those lower tides around the mullet schools, catching plenty of fish. During the high tide, the schools of redfish have been working the edges of the mangroves and getting up underneath the trees. Cut pinfish and thread fins you want to switch to then. Top of the tide, they're going to be tucked underneath that shadow line of the mangroves. Look for populations of mullet around the mangroves, and that's where you're going to find those bigger, heavier redfish and those big bruisers on those flood tides. He also says right now the snook have moved out to the beaches and are feeding best on that outgoing tide. The live greenbacks, the larger size ones if you can get them, and the deeper swash cuts has been working best. The Spoil Islands are also holding some good numbers of snook in St. Joseph Sound, and they've just moved out of the backcountry pretty well and getting on those eastern edges of all those Spoil Islands. And I got a photo here of a nice snook from Captain Jimmy.
Nice, Bob.
Not too shabby.
So I got a couple questions for you, man. What's going on since we had all this turbulent weather in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, all the rain in South Florida and on the West Coast? What's it done to your poon fishing?
Most of our tarpon went out on that last moon and spawned. We're starting to get them trickling back in. They've been coming back in pretty steady over the last couple of days, but a lot of our fish went offshore on that wind and that moon to go spawn and make babies, make some more poons for the future. And we got a lot of sharks around the ones that are left right now on the beaches. So getting them out of those schools have been a little tough, and keeping them from getting eaten has been even tougher.
All right, well, we all got to get together and start supporting the Shark Act. We are actually going to have the congressmen coming in next month to talk to us about it.
Oh.
So,
Pretty good.
yeah, Senator Rob Whitman, he'll be in sooner than later. But thank you so much, my friend. We will talk to you soon. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots from the Northwest region. He says the snook are on the beaches and the passes. Use sardines or pinfish, free line under a cork, and then offshore mangrove snappers on high relief structure in the lower half of the region in 25 to 60 feet of water.
All right, Mahi people, the time has come to give it all you got and go find those summertime bulls and cows for your weekend barbecue. But you got to stay with us because we have to tell you what we're fishing for next week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. It might be a species, it might not be.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll be back.
Okay.
Well, gentlemen, next week we are going deep dropping. Into
the deep.
Into the deep. It's going to be good. We saw a lot of catches today that live down there, so I'm sure it's going to be good next week too. And we have a little holiday we're celebrating.
Yeah.
The 4th of July, which is going to be fun.
Yeah. I like
It's
to blow
more
stuff
fun
up.
for some of us standing here than
You know what?
all of us, right?
I'm getting older,
I
so
throw a
it's
lot of stuff up.
not so much fun anymore. I have to say, I'm really not excited. Please don't celebrate me. Just
Please don't
kidding.
celebrate me.
I was like, please don't celebrate me. Are you kidding?
I don't want cakes, I don't want balloons, I don't want
It's your
nothing.
birthday.
I don't want nothing. But go out there and
You
catch
are
those
lying.
mahi.
Trick boy, it's your
Do
birthday.
it for me. It'll be fun.
You are lying. Don't
See you
get
next
Dave
week.
start dancing. Oh my God. Bye.